Big Skinny sitting in with you on If Not For Music. We got a great show lined up for you today. Got some John Ford Coley going to sit in with us for a little bit. We're going to talk about what he's got going on now, his trip through the 70s, some of his music, and his newest LP, Eclectic. Speaking of Eclectic, here's one of the tunes from that album, Should Have Never Left Texas. We got some great stuff coming up for you next on If Not For Music. Stick around.
My kind of people, my kind of roots, and nobody laughs at the dudes. Should have never left Texas. No, I should have never left Texas. Can't find a rodeo or call Lone Star. There's no country music in these big old city bars.
Doing good, sir. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good. What's going on with you these days?
Oh, just sitting around the house, being bored like everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's kind of seems to be the new normal, I'm afraid.
Yes, sir. So what do you got going on nowadays?
Oh, just sitting around the house being bored.
You too, huh?
Actually, what happens is, like, my daughter got to Kentucky, and so she's been literally quarantined with her friends for like a month. And I said, here you are, you're afraid of all this stuff, you're staying inside. Man, I'm going out every day. I'm going somewhere, Starbucks, Whole Foods, somewhere doing something. I said, hell, I'm healthier than you are, especially emotionally.
Well, I was just wondering why you hadn't started live streaming a bunch of stuff yet.
I thought about it. I just have a conclusion where I really need to practice a little more, and I do not want to anything but songs that people have not heard before. Now, be a little bit different than just playing the same songs over and over and over.
That would be really cool. Have you been
right? Because I got a bunch of songs I'd like to kind of try out, because it's kind of fun to play new things.
Okay, I'm going to give you a chance right now and go. I was waiting for you to start performing something, man.
Are you kidding, man? It's too early in the morning. No selfish musician even up at this time.
Hey, man, you ought to feel good, man. I got up and showered and shaved for you this morning, man.
And I hope you get clothes.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not sitting here in my underwear doing it, man. But who would know?
Yeah, who would know? That's true.
It is Casual Friday.
Well, it's Friday and it's early in the morning, and so it's like most people have been up for a couple of hours, but I'm a musician, so I've only been up for a couple of minutes.
Well, I figured you'd been up long enough to eat a couple of pies by now.
Oh, I'd like to have some pies. Actually, Pesach ended yesterday, so for during those 8 days during Passover, I just follow the rules and don't eat any bread or anything like that, pizza, anything. So last night it ended. So I guarantee you I'm going to be finding a pie today.
So last night, what you're trying to tell us is you were face down in a cherry pie. That's what you're trying to tell us, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, John, I wanted to talk to you about your early days with Dan and when you guys were stomping around the Dallas-Fort Worth area when you guys were performing a little bit.
Okay. What do you want to ask?
Well, I just want you to tell us a little bit about how you got started in the music industry and your early days, what your experiences were in the early days, and how you guys finally got your break, and how you made it to the top, I guess is how you'd say it. How you guys made it to the 70s scene and your experience in the music industry.
Well, the thing is, we had kind of a bit of a different attitude during that time period. Nobody was trying to be stars. We were all just trying to play music and have fun, and not having to throw another paper out or work at, the Safeway or something like that. And so I ended up being in this band, and it was really ironic because it was an established band at the high school that I was at called the Playboys 5. They were kind of starting to make a little bit of noise around the town, playing different venues and stuff. And so the guitar player, or one of the guitar players, quit. Well, everybody wanted a piano player, and Dan, who happened to be in the band, played saxophone and sang. He wanted another guitar player. Well, I ended up auditioning and getting the job. Dan and I didn't get along. And it was really kind of, hard because I'm I'm trying to do everything in the world not to tick him off, man, because they're going to throw me out of this band. And I didn't really know anything. And so we just kind of got better and better and better, and I improved and learned how to do things. And it was a great learning experience. And we changed names on the band and a couple of different times. It was still all the same members until we finally added a trumpet player when we became the Southwest FOB. And we were doing soul stuff, Otis Redding, and because we had played all the different styles of music. Actually, we started off playing, the Beach Boys and what was current on the radio at that time. Then we progressed up to the soul era, and then we jumped into the psychedelic era, and finally actually ended up playing fusion jazz, which was really kind of interesting. So we just kind of kept going. But Dallas during that time, and there were so many things that were going on. There were so many clubs like the Lamplighter and Lou Ann's, especially Lou Ann's. And they had the Tiger of Go-Go, over in Fort Worth, and we'd go over there and play on television. That with Ron McCoy, who was a big DJ over in Fort Worth. You had Cliff Radio, K-Box. K-Box at that time was not country. It was rock, all AM stuff. And then later on, Ron Chapman came out with K-Ville, and he had done the Something Else show for a long time. So we got to be on that. I mean, man, it was really fun back during that time because there were so many places to play, and it was very active. So I had a terrific time back then.
And if people haven't heard Southwest Freight on Board, the music that you guys were playing back then was totally different from the music that finally came out in the 70s from you and England Dan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you listen to the Southwest FOB Smell of Incense album, I mean, it's all black lights and parachutes. It's really, it's the Dan and I wrote almost all the songs on that record. It was our first venture into writing and having the band record stuff. And we'd actually discovered, even at that point, how eclectic we were. I mean, we weren't really trapped into one particular style. It had a lot of different elements to it. So Dan had been raised, with country, and then again, we had played all the various influences from that particular time. I was raised classically in show tunes and opera and church music and Stephen Foster. So, all of those elements have an influence on you, have an impact on the way that you play. I mean, the thing is it was a proving ground for us. And so then later on, when Dan and I split from the group, because we finally just kind of got tired of it. Wanted to go off. James Taylor and Simon and Garfunkel and people like that were really big during that particular time period. So we thought, well, we want to try our hand at that. So actually, I didn't play guitar that well. Dan probably played better than I did. And we picked up the guitars and we learned and played. We'd go out to the Rubaiyat and play. We'd play pizza places, anything that would allow us to get up there and play original music. And then we ended up going into Los Angeles because Jimmy Seals, who was Dan's brother from Seals and Crofts, they invited us out there. So we played the Ice House and different places of that nature. And so we could kind of be exposed into the Los Angeles area and ran across some really cool people. Got to play some with some groups. Like at that time, there was a big comedy team called the Ace Trucking Company, and Bellin and Somerville, and I mean, it was even more wide open than Dallas was for music. And so, man, we kind of gravitated there and got to play a lot. It was really an opening door for us.
How did you get your first big break as far as your record deal?
Actually, what happened was Louis Shelton, who was part of the Wrecking Crew, which was, all these musicians that played on all of the records, in essence, in Los Angeles. They played. Glenn Campbell was part of it. Carol Kay, Joe Osborne, all these people. So you've got them playing for Simon and Garfunkel, Larry Knechtel, and so then Louis saw us and he wanted to get into producing. And Louis was just a phenomenal guitar player, still is. And so he took our tape to Herb Alpert, and he said, look, they're kind of a cross between Simon and Garfunkel and the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees at that time, not the Bee Gees that became the disco hat wearers. Yeah. And so then Herb said, well, we really don't have any need for that on the label. So he said, well, just, take the tape, listen to it, tell me what your thoughts are. So the story goes that Herb was listening to our set, and he was shaving, and he said he wiped the shaving cream off his face mid-shave, called Louie and said, "Louie, get him out here." So, I mean, you know, and it was just, we had gone to A&M a couple of different times. It was during the time that you could actually go into the A&R people at the record company and play live for them. So, I mean, you know, that was really real. They would say, you know what, man, we don't see any hits here, but we love what you guys sound like. So if you get some hits, come back. And then Herb just kind of circumvented the whole thing because he was one of the owners, Albert Moss, Herb Alpert. Jerry Moss owned the label. And so, you know, he was big with the Tijuana Brass and all that, and I was a fan. So to have that kind of an influence, you know, bringing you into the industry, that was pretty remarkable for us.
You know, a year or two down the road, you get your first single out on the radio. What was that experience like?
Well, the thing is that we thought we'd have a bigger impact than we did, and it was kind of surprising because, you know, we were playing. We were playing with other acts on the label. It's like Carole King had Tapestry out at that time. It had just come out, and so she was the darling of the industry at that particular point. And she plays the Troubadour in Los Angeles. Well, they had us open for her for a week. Sweet lady. I loved Carole King. She was so good to us. And here I am. I'm looking down at people from the stage because it was up and everybody's kind of looking up at you. They're on a lower level. So I'm looking over here and I'm seeing Barbra Streisand and Judy Carn from Laugh-In, and I'm thinking, oh, crud, man. I mean, these are the big timers, you know. And so it's like one of the funniest stories that I remember happening to me was Henry Louie was our engineer on our first record. And so Louie was big into transcendental meditation, and we would take breaks from recording, and Louie would just kind of sit there and meditate. So one day I had come back into the studio. It was just him and me after he had meditated. And we're sitting there kind of talking, and he just looked at me and arbitrarily said, "John, who do you like? Who do you really like now?" And I said, "Oh, Henry, man, the people that I like, you probably haven't heard of, really." I said, "There's this one girl who knocks me out. She's got some of the best lyrics. I absolutely love her vocals. She uses a lot of alternative tunings." I said, "Have you ever heard of a girl by the name of Joni Mitchell?" And he looked at me and he said, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "No, have you heard of her?" And he goes, "John, I'm her producer. She's recording over here on Saturday. Come in." So I went and sat in on about 2 or 3 songs that she cut on the Blue album. I had just missed James Taylor by about 10, 15 minutes. He had played, come in, and it was gone. And I'm sitting there watching Joni Mitchell record Last Time I Saw Richard and All I Really Want, and hearing her banter back and forth. It was kind of like, you got to be kidding me, man. This is just, I mean, it's so cool. And then there was the time, you remember B.W. Stevenson?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, B.W. used to come out with Mickey Raphael, because we played at the Rubaiyat together all the time. So he would come out to California. He would sleep on my couch, and that was their base. My home became their base. We're just all sharing stuff, you know. And so one morning, B.W. and Mickey are asleep, and I'm kind of up, and the phone rings, and I pick it up, and this voice says, "Is B.W. there?" And I said, "You know what? He's sleeping right now. Would you mind if I just take your number and I'll give it to him when he wakes up? He can call you." And the guy goes, "Oh, okay. Just tell him Steve McQueen called." And I said, "I tell you what, why don't you wait a minute? I'll get him up." and then, you know, I'm telling everybody back home, "Oh yeah, you know, things are going good, man. Like Steve McQueen's calling my house, you know." And now everybody's really impressed, you know. "Oh my goodness, Johnny, you've made it, man. You've made it." So, I mean, we had some fun.
How did your parents react to your musical career, your choice in career?
You know, it was very interesting. And I've spoken to this about people before. Mom and Daddy were really religious. And so, I mean, if the church doors were open, bingo, they were there. When I was younger, it was one of those things to where you get drugged kicking and screaming, but you're going. So I was always there. Well, when I'm out playing in all these clubs and things like that, they were so doggone supportive. It was absolutely funny because they were very proud. They had seen that all those piano lessons they'd given me had paid off over the years. I was actually doing stuff with it, and they could not have been more supportive than what they were.
Now looking at your career with England Danny and John Ford Coley, you guys recorded quite a few albums, and it's always hard to ask an artist to pick their favorite song they recorded because it's like choosing one of your kids. But is there a recording that you look back and you're saying, man, I'm glad we recorded that. That was probably my favorite recording of all time.
Yeah, it was. That'd be Soldier in the Rain.
Yeah, that's
hands down.
Didn't you write that one?
I wrote that with a girl by the name of Sonny Dalton. Actually, I wrote the music, and then Sonny came in and we put lyrics to it. Had kind of an idea, but that's probably my favorite song that I still play it, but I play it most of the time without a band because trying to play it with a band and teach everybody that song's it's a tough one.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to try to put that one in this podcast just because I think it's a really great song too. It has a really good message. So I'm going to slip that in this podcast before we finish production on it. So we'll get that song out there for you.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on now with some of your solo work. I know you had a new album come out in, I think, 2016, 2017?
2017, yeah. It was I had wanted to put together a recording for a long time. And so, by and large, when you're no longer on the radio and you're not in the public eye, people pretty much think that you're done. That's it. Maybe you're working construction. You're just not in the industry anymore. So you're always continually writing. It isn't something that you stop doing just because you don't have a recording contract or you're not playing on the radio. You're always coming up with new ideas. You're writing for other people. You're just playing. And so I was the same way. And heck, man, I remember one time I had done a song for a film called Major League 3, Back to the Minors, and it was the opening song. So they had a guy by the name of Claypool come in and sing the song. And Mike Curb, he was on Mike Curb's record label. Well, Curb comes in. I'd never met Curb before. And, man, we were like ships in the night. We just could not connect at all. He was a suit. I'm an artist. We just don't connect. And so finally he looked at me and he said, well, are you still in the industry? And I thought, that's about the dumbest question I think I've ever been asked in my life. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, it's kind of like being in the mob. You've always got your fingers in there somewhere. We take a blood oath. He's looking for the door. He's trying to get out of there. It's like, who is this weird guy? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I wrote the song. And he went, oh, okay. It's like he's trying to get out. But, so, you're always writing. And this was a collection. Gosh, I think the earliest song that I had written on that eclectic CD was from 1983 with Bill Champlin. And Bill went on, he was the Sons of Champlin, then he went on to play with Chicago all those years. Yeah. And so then it went all the way up to 2017, songs that I had written. And I thought, man, I can't narrow this thing down. I said, I haven't done one of these things in a long time, so we're going with as many songs as I can put on here and get away with and not drive myself insane. So that's got 26 songs on it. They're all songs you have not heard before. And, I mean, it was tough narrowing it down to those 26. So, I mean, it was fun because, again, half of the record is with a band. The other half is pretty much acoustic, a lot of ballad kinds of things on it. So you get a wide variety of music. And the reason why I called it eclectic is because it's literally got everything on there but flamenco and rap, There's no Lithuanian disco polkas, but it's, it's country,
Darn,
pop,
I'm
it's
disappointed.
rock, it's folk. It's got everything on it because when I sit down and write something, I don't ever say, okay, I'm going to write a country song today. Okay, this is going to have a classical tinge to it. Whatever comes out is what comes out. And I don't try to stop it because I'm raised in all these various styles. So I just kind of play because I just kind of play.
So where can people find this album if they want to pick it up for themselves?
Actually, I mean, I said it at the concerts when I played, but you'd have to go to johnfordcoley.com and go into the store. And then also a friend of mine, a couple of years ago, I went to Israel and played. And then also he brought me into Los Angeles and I played there. So it was just an acoustic show, but it was live. Both of them were live. And he wanted to put that thing into a recording. So we put that out. It's called Long Way Home, live in Israel and Los Angeles.
Now, anybody...
So that's...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's got a lot of a couple of new songs on it that are even not on the eclectic. But it's, kind of covering a lot of the songs that Dan and I had done, Long Way Home, or I Really Love to See It. And I played all the, quote, hits. The 6 hits, and then just a lot of other songs as well.
Anybody that follows you on Facebook or social media knows that you're big over in the Philippines. That's one of your favorite places to go.
Yeah,
make that trip every year. Are you gonna be making that trip this year?
Not this year. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to be in China in last month, and so these riots continued to go on. And I said, guys, I tell you what, I could go into a war zone like that. I've done it before. But in all conscience, I couldn't bring my Filipino band with me. I couldn't. If something were to happen, I couldn't live with that. So I canceled this gig out. Then this Corona panic of 2020 hit. And I wouldn't have been able to go anyway. But I was going to maybe do something in the Philippines after that. But it just didn't materialize this year. And they called me and asked me if I could come in July. And I said, man, I can't. It's just I'm playing so much here. I just don't have the time. And I don't like to go there for 3 days and turn around and come back. That's a long flight.
Oh, yeah.
So, give me 10 days over there at least.
Now, a lot of people don't know this about you, but you are a practical joker, and you had some really funny stories about life on the road with you and Dan Seals when you guys were performing.
I just never got to go to Boy Scout camp. I missed out. So I just kind of I love joking with people, and I have a very, very dry sense of humor. Sometimes on stage, people will look at me and I start laughing. And my daughter all the time says, Dad, you got to laugh every now and then when you say these things because they're funny, but they think you're serious. And I go, okay.
So what is one of the funniest pranks that you've pulled on stage?
Oh, gosh, on stage? I just tell jokes and stuff on stage. I don't really pull pranks. But, I wrote the book several years ago, Backstage Pass, and it truly is just a collection of funny things that have occurred on the road over the years. It's like, the one that I've got to add a bunch of things to it. I think probably one of the funniest ones that I had happen was I was up in Annapolis, Maryland, and I had learned from traveling in Maryland that the only reason why Lee never really attacked the Union Army in Maryland was because within 15 minutes after crossing the border, the Army would have been irretrievably lost, with or without a GPS. You just can't find anything in that state. So I'm traveling. I've got my GPS on. I finally get to Annapolis. I'm looking for a club called the Ramshead. When I come into town, there's one of the big town squares. So you've got a big circle that just goes around the square, and in the middle of it is a big church. So there's 4 streets. Well, there's no street signs. My GPS quits working when I hit that circle, and I'm going round and round and round, thinking, okay, is that the right way? I don't know. I just came from that way. That's not it. Okay, here, no. And I couldn't make a decision. And I don't have trouble making decisions. So finally, on my right-hand side, I see a guy sitting on a park bench with a banjo. I mean, a banjo, for crying out loud. And so I thought, he's got to be local. So I went around the curve again. I hit the passenger side window, and I was going to ask him where I'm at. Which street is this? When I pulled up, before I could say anything, he yells out, "Don't quit now, kid. You're in second place." I mean, I just kept going round and round and round. I thought, that's funny.
I tell you what just came to mind was that scene from European Vacation where Chevy Chase kept driving around that roundabout, and every time he'd go around, he said, "Look, kids, Big Ben."
That's funny.
That's what comes to mind.
Man. So, but it's just, things like that happen to me all the time, and I just sit there and laugh a good portion of the time.
Let me share a little funny story with you. A couple of years back, me and my wife, we were taking a trip with a buddy of mine out in Tennessee. He lives out in Memphis, and we met him out in I think it was Arkansas, up in the mountains. We were going to go trout fishing. So we were coming back from Branson, Missouri. We've been out there with my family. We were going to spend a couple of days down in Arkansas in the mountains to go fishing with my buddy. Well, we turned down this road. It was called Needle. It was a GPS says turn on this road. It was Needle Point Lane or something to that effect. I can't remember the exact name. So this little bitty unassuming dirt road, we're driving down it. And as we're driving down, it's getting more narrow and more narrow. Trees on either side. There's nowhere for me to turn around. So we get all the way down this road, and there's a big lot. We had to go through like these streams, man. My truck, we was going through these streams. And I swear I heard Deliverance banjos playing. We was out in the middle of nowhere. And we got down to the very end, and there was a lightning had struck and hit a tree, and it was like right in the middle of the road. I couldn't go any farther. And like I said, there wasn't nowhere to turn around. I couldn't just whip my truck around. So, I had to do like the back up a little, about 4 inches, pull up, back up, pull up, back up. Took us about 30 minutes to get out of there. That was the craziest. You can't always depend on GPS, even if it gives you directions.
Oh no, I've discovered GPS is I don't know where they're getting some of their directions.
GPS is not my friend.
Not at times.
All right, John, one of the questions, we're going to end here, but one of the questions I always ask each artist before we hang up is, this is called If Not For Music. So the question I ask you is, if it weren't for music, if not for music, what do you think that what path would you have chosen in your life?
Oh, man. When I was going to school, I was planning on being a teacher. But that didn't happen. I don't know. I'd probably be an alternative medicine practitioner or something.
That's a good path. My wife actually works for a doctor that does PRP and stem cell and that kind of stuff. Really good medicine. Yeah.
So I tell you what, I study alternative medicine all the time. It's like even doing this entire, what I call Panic of 2020. They're talking about this and they're scaring people. And I said, yeah, well, the best way that I know to get this virus is to be filled with fear and terror and panic. And then that will kill out your immune system, put a lot of cortisol in your system, which will kill out your immune system, and bingo, you got it. And nobody is talking about strengthening the immune system.
Yep, vitamin C, vitamin D.
Yeah, all kinds of things. Zinc. There's reflexology that you can use on yourself. You put reflexology and points on your body that strengthen up your immune system. And I'm listening to these guys go, fear, terror, panic. Oh God, we're gonna all die. And I'm going, these guys are idiots, man. No. So that's when they say, well, don't go out. It's like, screw that. I'm going out, and give me a break. So, and like I said, I'm fine. I've been fine. You just got to keep up your immune system.
John, I look at it like this, and we can sit around and we can panic, we can be in fear all day, but I come from a religious background as well, and I just feel like when it's your time to go, God's going to call your number. It's your time to go. There's not much you can do about it. Everybody has their day.
I put that up on Facebook, talking about the same thing with fear and panic, and then just kind of ended up by saying, they asked Stonewall Jackson how you can be so fearless in the face of, bullets flying past you everywhere. And he said, God knows when I'm going to die. I don't have any concern with that. He knows. And hey, when it happens, ain't nothing I can do about it.
Who was the comedian that had the line, I can't remember who it was, but he was talking about being on an airplane. He says, I'm not worried about dying, but what if it's the guy in the 2 rows behind me? What if his time to go,
Yeah, there you go.
Got to take the whole plane down to get this guy, huh?
Well, I think it's a little bit different in that way, but I saw a thing the other day, and you got to be spiritual in you. It said fear is putting more faith in the enemy than it is putting it in God. Yeah. And I thought, There you go.
Yeah, that's truth, and that's truth right there, brother, and I believe it, every bit of it. Well, John, hey, it's been great talking to you. I appreciate you
Nice
calling
talking to
in.
you, Kenny.
Thanks for sitting in today, brother. I appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. Good to see you. Hopefully we'll see you when I come back to Dallas
Yes,
some
sir.
point.
Yes, sir. And I tell you what, let me know when you put some live stream up. We'll get it out there for you.
That sounds good, partner. Appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.
You too, Bubba.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's Big Skinny. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Thank you, Mr. John Ford Coley, for sitting in, and we enjoyed speaking with you today. And as promised, we're going to give you some Soldier in the Rain by John Ford Coley, and then we're going to wrap it up with some England Dan and John Ford Coley. Love is the answer. Thank you so much for joining in. If not for music, we will catch you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Big Skinny out.
Morning clouds are gathering around as I stand on the bridge of the river. Years have gone since I was here, and I'm wondering how I differ. Taxi cabs keep rolling by, and a blind man asks for change. And here I stand, a soldier in the rain. Coming home was all I thought of, seeing my family and friends. They say love knows no distance, but the longing never ends. And all along these dreams that possessed my heart never were too plain. And here I stand, a soldier in the rain. I remember years ago, I had so many plans, and now I watch the river flow. Time has brought me here with empty hands. Morning clouds are gathered around, and the streets are full of reflections. A traffic light and the moon still bright, people going in different directions. I've thought about why I'm here, it's just too hard to explain. So here I stand, a a soldier in the rain. In the rain. In the rain. In the rain. Name your price, a ticket to paradise. I can't stay here anymore, and I've looked high and low. I've been from shore to shore to shore. If there's a shortcut, I'd have found it, but there is no easy way around it. Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Who knows why? Someday we all must die. We're all homeless boys and girls, and we are never heard. It's such a lonely, lonely, lonely world. People turn their heads and walk on by. Tell me, is it worth just another try? Light of the world, shine on me. Love is the answer. Let it shine. Shine on us all, set us free. Love is the answer. Tell me, are we alive, or just to die in planet? What are the chances? As the man in your heart, or the answer.
And when you feel afraid,
When you've lost your way,
and when you're all alone,
and when you're